get it.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5.
Most can agree that they have goals. Whether short-term or long-term, everyone has them. Also, something that most people would agree with is that it takes hard work to reach their goals. There's a big difference in knowing what it takes to be successful and actually doing what it takes to be successful. My grandfather, Ronald Allison, has done what it takes to be successful and reach his goals, and I greatly admire the hard work he has put in to get to where he is today. My grandfather's life has not come without its fair share of hardships. Growing up, his family was very poor. They rented a one-bedroom duplex for $20 a month. Him, his parents, and his brother all slept in the same room. They did not have running water, and he and his brother only got to take a bath once a week, which were on Saturdays. His mother worked in a shirt factory, and his father was a pig trader, which he thinks later contributed to his love for wheeling and dealing. He could not play sports once he graduated the 8th grade because he had to work. He worked at Webb's department store in the afternoons and made $1.50 per afternoon and $3 on Saturdays. While in high school, his father left the pig trading business and opened up a filling station with his uncle Sam Brady. My grandfather quit his department store job and started working at the filling station after that. Although his father could not afford to send him to college, he did offer to send him to barber school. My grandfather went to barber school 5 nights a week for 6 months, and his father sold the filling station, so he worked at the Dodge dealership in Nashville in the daytime before school. My grandfather's dad died of cancer when he was 19. He was examined to be drafted from the Army 4 times, but failed all of his examinations because he had high blood pressure. In 1966, him and his friends were out one night when one of them threw a trash can through a window at a laundromat. This laundromat was owned by one of the members of the board that decided who got drafted for the war. Well, they thought my grandfather did it. He went to the board member's house that was accusing him and told her he did not do it, yet he would not tell who actually did do it. He did not want to tell on his friend that did it, and the lady accused him of faking his high blood pressure. I admire him for taking the punishment for his friend. His mother claimed going to the Army was the best thing that ever happened to him. When he got back from basic training camp, he met his grandmother. He met my grandmother. Their first night, he took her to race cars. He did this in Auburntown, Tennessee, where there was a road that met 3 different counties. If the sheriff of one county showed up, they would make sure they were over the other county's line, and they could not actually get in trouble because the sheriff couldn't make an arrest if they were in a different county. My grandparents spent 22 of the 24 days together before he left for Vietnam. He told my grandmother he wanted her to wait for him and to not fall in love with anyone while he was gone. She listened, and when he returned, they got married. They bought their first house for $4,500. They shared one car, and he walked to work, cutting hair at a barber shop, while my grandmother drove to McMinnville to teach. He then started working for UPS. He worked for them for 8.5 years. Every Friday, he would get a Wheels and Deals magazine which had used motorcycles for sale in it. He started trading motorcycles and realized he could make a business out of it. He then opened Sparta Cycle Center while still working at UPS. My grandmother would come to the shop at 3:30 after teaching all day and open it. After my grandfather got off of work at UPS, he would come and work at the shop till 10 or 11 every night. Eventually, he realized this was too much, and so he stopped working at UPS and expanded his business. After quitting UPS, he bought the Kawasaki shop in Cookeville. Soon after, he combined this store and the Sparta Cycle Center into what is now known as Midset Motorsports. Business was good until Jimmy Carter got elected. Carter caused the interest floor plan to rise from 7% to 21%. All he could do was pay the interest, and they were barely getting by. The banks came in and wanted my grandfather to move his floor plan to another bank. He said, "No other banks want it. There's no other way I can move it. I will haul them wherever you want them. I can't do it." The bank came back the next day, and he said, "If I help you out and give you 6 months interest free, would that work?" My grandfather said he would sure try to make it work. He paid off the units on the floor plan he had with them eventually, although it was a scary time to own his business. Dealers were going out big time because of this floor plan interest. Yamaha, which is a motorcycle brand, started their own finance program. And since people were going out, they had a big auction. Most people at the auction only bought around 10 units, but my grandfather saw an opportunity and took it. He left with 155 units. Since he had all these units, he knew he needed way more room to be able to display and sell them. So he bought an old circus tent and put it on the lot beside the building he owned. He started selling motorcycles left and right. The business was great. He said after this success, he never looked back. The auction inspired him to open his second business, what he called a junk store. He named it Merchandise Liquidators. This was the same concept as the auction that created so much success for him. He bought products that had been returned from service merchandise. There were two buyers, one from Alabama and my grandfather. This meant he was getting a ton of merchandise. People with other junk stores went through him to buy merchandise by the trailer load. He got $1,000 per trailer load plus freight, which was 30 years ago, so this business in itself was a great success. He sold regularly to 40 stores. He did this for 15 years while still having a motorcycle shop. At one point, he even bought 45,000 vacuum cleaners to resell. Since he was so busy with his merchandise store, he let the man that had worked for him so long have 49% of the motorcycle shop. This was a big mistake. The bank called him one day and said the motorcycle shop was $80,000 overdrawn. When his partner would leave at night, my grandfather would go over to the shop and go through all the papers to find evidence of his stealing. Eventually, he found evidence that $260,000 worth of things had been stolen from him. His accountant told him the best way was to get his partner to sign back 49% of the business to him. His partner also knew this was the best option for him, so he complied and left without ever having to pay back what he stole. My grandfather sold Merchandise Liquidators to pay off the $260,000 he owed from his partner stealing. He was ready to sell Midstate Motorsports because he was just sick of being screwed, and his brother died the same year, and he just did not see the point in working so hard anymore for everything to just get stolen. His daughter Amanda was a junior in college and said she wanted to have a shot at running Midstate Motorsports before he got rid of it forever. He agreed, and she has managed it ever since. My family is so grateful for this because without her decision, the shop would not still be in our family today. A few years, he turned his Merchandise Liquidators warehouse into storage units, which are still in business today and are known as Northside Mini Storage. A couple years ago, at 74 years old, he started distributing a brand of motorcycles from China called KO and began A&G Distributing in May of 2019. Although his past partnerships have not worked out, he just has it in his heart to give people a chance. He is a partner with this business and things are going really well. They distribute KO ATVs and motorcycles east of the Mississippi River, which consists of 150 dealers. There's only one other distributor in the U.S. At 76 years old, he still has Midstate Motorsports, storage units, and is also a KO distributor. He also still drag racing cars 60 years later, but that is a story for another day. When asked what advice he would give his grandchildren, he said, "Work hard and don't be afraid to go in debt." In conclusion, my grandfather is the hardest worker I know, and without his hard work, my family would not be where they are today.
One, two,
3,
4,
5,